So if we're going to use the slope-intercept form of the equation to write an equation, then we have to remember that the slope, m, is the slope, and b is the y-intercept, which is the point where it hits the y-axis. So of course that point has to be the ordered pair 0 and whatever b is. Okay, so if we're going to write this equation, well, all we have to do is remember that 3/5 is our slope, and the y-intercept is the point 0, -4. So when we write the equation, y equals mx plus b, we will just plug in 3/5 for our slope and -4 for our b, for our y-intercept. Okay, then we have our x and our y always in our linear equations. So there is the linear equation. We have written it. Now, let's graph this linear equation. And really, whether you just have the slope and the y-intercept, or if you write the equation out, either way, you know what you're doing here. So if we look at this graph and we say, okay, we have -4 for our y-intercept, and we know if -4 is the y-intercept, then it's going to be the point 0, x is going to be 0, and y will be a -4. So that point will be right there on the y-axis, because that's our y-intercept. Okay, now if the slope is 3/5, remember slope is rise over run. So we're going to, from this point, we're going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3. That's how it rises on that y-axis, and then it's going to go across 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. Okay, if you wanted to keep going, you could go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'd have a point right there. So you're noticing that those are all in a straight line, and it gives us that rise over the run. And then we just draw a straight line graph through those 3 points. Okay, now if you're given an equation something like this one, it's not in slope-intercept form, and you want to get it in slope-intercept form, well, you want to isolate the y because you want it to turn out to be like this one. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, y equals mx plus b up here. And so to get this equation, which is really in standard form, but that's no big deal, to get this equation, you need to isolate your y. So the first thing you're going to do is subtract 4x from both sides to get those x terms moved over on the other side where you want them. And then we're going to have 2y is equal to a -4x plus 6. Then we're going to finish isolating that y. The very last thing we do is to divide by 2 on both sides. And of course on this side, because we have 2 terms, we have to divide each term by 2. So on this side we'll have y, those 2's cancel. -4 divided by a +2 is going to give us a -2x plus 6 over 2 is 3. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so now what we have is a -2 is our slope, and our y-intercept is 3. So if we want to graph that, well, we just have to remember what our slope is. So if we've got a -2 for our slope, then we can have either a negative 2 over 1 or a positive 2 over a negative 1. Because remember, it's rise over run. So to turn that whole number slope into a fraction, we just put it over 1. And of course, with a fraction, if it's a negative fraction, you can put that negative sign in the top or the bottom, but not both, because that would turn it into a positive fraction. Okay, let's graph this one. So our y-intercept is 3, which means we'll have the y-intercept is 3. It means the point for that y-intercept. Okay, the y-intercept is 3, then we're going to have the point 0, 3. So to graph that point 0, 3, x is 0, y is 3, 1, 2, 3, right there. And then we're going to go, if we use the positive 2 over the negative 1, we're going to go up 2, 1, 2, and a negative 1 means we're going to go in a negative direction for the run, right there. Okay, then if we use the negative 2 over 1, then we would say, well, negative 2, we're going to go down 1, 2, and then a positive 1 will be in a positive direction, will be right here. So we can see with either fraction that you use, with the negative in the top or the bottom, you're going to end up with those points plotted to give us a straight line. So right here is our graph of the equation.